awkwardly, and there we are. So hello everybody. We have so many people on the screen today. Let me know if you're here in the comments, and then I guess everyone knows who you three are already at this point. It's like this stage of life where everyone knows you people, so what is the point? But we have Laura, we have Ali, and we have Victoria. I actually got that in kind of a swoop.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for joining me. It is very quiet and I'm now worried. But let me just pop over to YouTube to check this is all working fine. No, it is. There are people. Okay. Oh, Katie is here. Oh no, can't be here for this one, but wanted to pop on to support you wonderful people. Well, thank you so much, Katie. I really appreciate it. Also, I don't know how to turn this off. I don't use Stream Elements. But it keeps saying the bot's here, and I'm like, great, thank you. But I'll need to get rid of that. But hopefully in your public experience later. Great, excited to see you. Don't rush though, whatever you're doing. And hello, Marlene. How are you? Right. If you're here in the comments, then just let us know what you thought of the book generally, like a rating. And I guess that's where we'll start on screen. Do we want to start with someone I know who loves it completely, which is Ali? What do you think of this book, which I will just hold lovingly?
I obviously gave it 5 out of 5. It's my favorite one, but I know why it's not most people's. It is different vibes than the other two. And it's my favorite for like a personal reason, because I relate really heavily to the main character and like her journey in this book. So I think that's why it's 5 for me. I think if I didn't relate so heavily to her, it probably would be 4.
Laura?
I loved it. 5 stars. After the bride test, I could actually now just leave that book completely and just have it as a duology of these two. I would quite happily bin this one out now. Even though I gave that one 4, I just loved it. I loved Quan. I just loved him. I fell in love with him. And I'm going to be swooning a little bit over him later.
Just before I go to Victoria, this made me laugh. The bot is welcome to share if it can. But Victoria, what did you think?
I also loved it. It's also my favourite of the 3. I also gave it 5 stars. I got my copy here. There we go. That's the extent of my preparation for this. The same as Ali, I really resonated with Anna, and I think I had a real like emotional connection to what she goes through. And I think in terms of also the author's writing, you can see the skill level rising through this trilogy, which is one thing that I really like. But this book has now made her like an auto-read, auto-buy author for me. Like whatever she comes up with next, I will 100% pick up and read. So yeah, it was my favorite of the 3. But I can see why it's not for everybody, because it is a very different feel.
Yeah, which is, I now feel like a horrible person because I gave it 4 stars. But I can justify it, which I think if this book was outside of this trilogy, if it was like a completely separate thing, 5 stars on its own. But then I think flowing through the series, I'm like, the rest of them in my brain were romance books where one of the characters happened to be on the autism spectrum. Yeah. This one was a journey of someone figuring that out, and there was a little romance on it too, which does not make it a bad book, because clearly it's still like 4 stars in this trilogy. But I just wish it was something different, and I could have just loved it on its own little thing and then stuck with the Helen Huang absolute filth. And then I was like, this one, I'm like, come on though, carry on. Like, I'm going to need some more of that part. But that's pretty much what Marlene is saying too, actually, in the comments. With rating for the third one ended up at 3.5. For comparison, the first were 3 and 4 stars. The romance was a 5 star. And I'm like, I do love Quan, and I could really respect what Anna was going through on the whole journey. But for me, I'm like, I don't personally resonate with it. So I'm like, great, good for you. Where's Quan? I just wanted the romance, but that's, again, Marlene's covering my thoughts for me. Expectations. Like, I loved the Kiss Quotient so much, and I will still, from just that, consider Helen Huang like an auto-buy author. But I just, it's not that I didn't care. I just didn't want it in my filth. Like I wanted the filth back.
No, that's totally fair, because it definitely, and I think that's why when it first came out, a lot of people were disappointed with it, because it doesn't hold the same vibe of the rest of them. So it really would have kind of made more sense on its own.
But it's not a bad vibe.
No.
It's just not the same vibe.
Yeah, it's not what you're expecting after the
Mhm.
previous two, because this one is like more like half a contemporary and half a romance.
Yeah, definitely. Marlene is just jumping in with all the good stuff. I was sad and angry though, so much of the book. Hang on, right. I've just read that and my brain has not functioned. I was sad and angry through so much of the book. And as well written as it was, that didn't match up with the happy romance I was expecting. Yes. And I think that is the whole thing of like, it's a great book, but is it book 3 in the Kiss Quotient series? Maybe not. And then I did get more emotional when I read her author's note and why she'd written the book and how personal it was to her. Even with like the caring side of it, which I have no knowledge. Like that was completely, I don't know how you would deal with this situation. So I think that was really cool. And it made it make more sense why she went down that route and why she knows so much about it. But I'm like, doesn't make up for it for me, but still it was good.
Well, and also it's the first of the 3 that's written in first person. The other 2 are written in third, and that it shows you the impact of that, I think, as well, because it does give a very different feeling. And I would say like this one is like, the other books are pretty much 50-50 between the male and female characters, whereas this one was like 80% Anna and like 20% Quan. So it does give it a different feel for sure.
And I did make a note as well how I think it also, as a reader, it's relying on how much we love Quan already. Because if it was just a romance, we'd be like, who is this dude? Why has he just showed up? Why is he that nice? Like, you don't really get that side of him. But you've got that through the other books. So I think it did rely a little bit on... Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, carry on.
No, I was done. You go.
Then that kind of sums him up, though, because he's always in the background as such a big supporter, even like with the business deal. So for him to kind of have a lesser role but still be quite prominent, to me, it matches up and how he would be in the relationship, putting her first and everyone else before him. And even with his illness, he still was so considerate of everyone else and keeping everything to himself. And it was just, I think that's what made me kind of like, oh.
It's why you love him more.
I really want Quan in my life. I'm Quan now. And I'm like, dating app, what can I get up to? Let's go find him.
Not Quan. We need a real life Quan.
No, probably got all like, I'll just plug another book while I'm here. Probably got all the dates that what's your name? Maggie gets to go on in this one. Or it's brilliant. If you haven't read it, seriously read this. Maggie's dates are brilliant, especially the one where she's climbing out of a toilet window.
Okay, I do have that book. Didn't you get me that book? I think you did.
Because it's got on the front.
Yeah, very cute. Very, very cute. So I do need to read that one because Laura has put it in my life. So it hasn't happened. But let's not talk about how many books everyone here has put in my life that I haven't read yet. Because, when will I ever get to all of these? What's Val saying? Got a few chapters in and haven't finished it, but still wanting to support. Well, thank you so much. Don't mind spoilers. As you can see what's going to happen, I'll finish it this month. You say that. A lot happened in this book that you weren't expecting, really. I think
it ends up where you know it's going to, but the route there isn't
it isn't quite what you expect.
Yeah.
But then actually I did make a note on this. Of the 3, I also resonated with Anna, especially with the anxiety and masking. I did actually write down that I thought it was a really good insight into that because I don't get it. So to understand what is happening in her brain in like every social situation ever was so tiring. Like, how is this happening? Like, how is this much work? But it's just, there were many, many times, and I don't mind admitting this, as I'm reading it, I'm like, lady, pull yourself together. But I'm like, wait, no, it's not that easy. That is the whole point of this book. And I'm reading it, getting frustrated at her. Like when she doesn't stand up to Julian at the party and she's like, oh yeah, we're getting married. I'm like, I could punch you. What are you doing? Like, shake the
that
lady.
is definitely something that could have happened to me. Like reading that, I was like, that's exactly. I would have just stood there.
Really?
Yeah. I would
That's me
definitely
reading it.
it dealt with it later because the thought of having to deal with that in front of all these people, no thanks.
Whereas I'd be like, dude, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Like, just confrontational.
Thankfully, that never did happen to me, and I'm married, so we're safe
good.
from that. But like, yeah, that with the wrong person, that could definitely have happened to me, 100%.
Which is just, I think that's why, like, you love it, but then I'm like getting angry at her, but then trying to understand that that is the whole point, and we're trying to explain what's happening in her brain. Where I'm like, I could shake you. What are you doing? Why is this happening? Just do it. Just say you don't want him. But no, apparently not. Apparently that is not the way we go to this. But yeah, it was very well done, because I felt like my whole point on this mini rant was, by the time we got to the end, I feel like I understood. But reading it, you're like, what are you doing? You get to the end and think, oh, okay, that's kind of hard, actually. Didn't realize that. Whoops. I'm But no, it was good. I liked how we got to that part. And even just listening to her having, listening, you know what I mean? But reading her having conversations with her therapist.
Yeah.
That was also really just insightful in a way I wouldn't have thought we'd got out of these books, because it's just not something I know about.
Sorry, there's so much cat hair sticking to my
So you're just like, where is it
Yeah.
coming from?
I knew that feeling.
Yeah. The other thing I've written down is just Anna's absolute bluntness at the start. And I mean, I assume no one's got kids watching, but if they do, we've been on these live shows before. Please don't have them watching. But her absolute bluntness at the start, where she's like, I don't like giving blowjobs.
The thing is, though, is I'm like, honestly, that's how I am with that type of stuff. I was like, yep.
There's probably a bad time to realize that when I'm like, what is going on in this house?
Also, talking about having kids around, when I was reading this at the start of our family holiday in Wales, because I was doing the Amazing Readathon and the romance prompt came up, and I was like, great, let's get the Heart Principle done. I'm gonna read that, carry on. And I forgot how immediate Helen Huang can be with the naughty stuff. So I'm literally sat there. We were sat out, we stayed one night in a double-decker bus, and I'm literally sat like with the boys in the hot tub reading that scene, just like laughing to myself. And I was like, this is so inappropriate.
Just, I can't even explain why I'm laughing. I just am.
Yeah, and they're like, what are you reading? I'm like, nothing. No.
I think there weren't as many like funny moments as in the other books.
That's fair.
But I think that kind of goes back to our whole original point. If it's more serious, it's more personal, it's whatever. But I did still have my tab for cute or funny. It just wasn't used more than once, and that was for the blowjobs. But I found that particularly funny. Because I'm like, I mean, let's not go too into detail, but there's thoughts. You've got to be thinking something. Otherwise, like, you can't have an empty head. So I just found it hilarious. I would like a red Quan mix. Yes. Chloe Brown red. For any, that would.
Yeah.
Do you know, just the personalities meshing together would be pretty cool. If they could look like Quan, I'm more on Team Quan for looks wise, but we're so proud of her whenever she just set her boundaries so bluntly. Yes, definitely. Like when it got to that point and she's just like, no, this. Oh, for some reason I forgot there were babies around. So I'm like, where is that coming from?
It's just Winnie.
She's just. I literally just panicked. Like, who's got a baby? Oh, we have the animals too.
Oh, there's 3 dogs and 2 cats in here right now.
Oh my God. Your life is chaotic. I'm just trying to see what else because I really struggled to make notes for this one, because I'm like, is it more than her personal input into a romance? Like, I can't say too much about her actual life. But the one thing I loved is how it just really casually moved on from the one before. And it was like, hey, Quan's had cancer. Like, that was just so bluntly thrown in. Very talkative cat. And it came around the time, like, I only read this the other week, but when some of my favorite like YouTubers, it's a couple of guys, and one of the guys has come out with a really open statement about how he had cancer and he now only has one ball. And I like watched his emotional video about that whole journey and like all of the stuff going on behind that. So then reading Quan with it as well, I'm like, oh my God, this is so wow, just thrown in and as a normal thing. I just think it was really well done. Luckily can't speak personally on anything like that, but just even having that direct comparison of, oh, this happened to Colby, like this YouTube guy, this is, you know, and bless him, and he's like all worried about how it looks and stuff. I just my heart is hurting for him.
And I really like that whole thing, because you don't get a lot, or I haven't read a lot of books where you have men who are having kind of body issues, or like, you know, feeling awkward about their bodies. It's usually the men that are like super confident and don't care. So that was nice. But I also really liked that, like, when him and Anna are then together after that conversation, she's a bit like, well, I couldn't tell if you had 1 or 30.
Like, I don't know.
It's just one of those things where like it's the person, isn't it? You're going to notice it yourself rather than like other people noticing it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was well handled.
Even in that situation, you notice it and you go, something's happened there. But like, it's not, oh my God, that's all like horrible. Don't show that to me. Like, has anyone wanted to see 2, let alone 1? Like,
it's like nobody wants to look at that to begin with. Okay.
Keep that to yourself anyway. So I'm not worried how many there are. Just keep them to yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, I just loved how that was like just thrown in, because there's nothing we had from the first 2 books. Like, we've set Marlene off. She's it's just a fun take on a horrible situation for Quan, but just glad that he's kind of okay by the end of the book and like, cool, whatever, rocking it. I really don't have anything else written down. Does anyone? I mean, we have 2 literal English teachers on screen. Anything profound to say, ladies?
Well, I've got this just in case the mistake that happened last time, no swearing's there.
So literally, you apologized, and I'm like, I don't swear just because I don't swear anyway. But then the other things I say aren't appropriate, so it's not the actual
feel
word.
Like Chloe wouldn't have invited me if she had a problem with swearing.
I'm just so like, I don't care at all. I will never like I'm kind of at the level of swearing where if I stub my toe, it's going to happen. But in conversation, it doesn't happen. But then, I mean, I have a whole video on here where I'm reading about a knife in someone's, you know. So does it? Really
I was just reading about a gun in somebody's, you know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we need to know the title of this book then.
Ali puts some on, like me on some weird books.
Whereas I'm currently reading Like a Charm by Elle Nichols.
Yeah.
Very different.
I mean, I literally have a stack of smut chapter books, high fantasy and nonfiction. So who knows what's going on?
Yeah, just a mix of everything.
Sounds
But
like a
I
good
think
mix.
Laura was very clever and came up with a mini game. Didn't you, Laura?
So,
I'm giving you the credit.
so sensible mode. Right, snog, marry, avoid for the male characters. Who would you snog? Who would you marry? Who would you avoid? So I'm going to avoid Kai, because in my mind he doesn't exist. I would snog Michael, but of course marry Quan, so he's permanently in my life.
See, the only problem with this game is my answers completely match that. So I have nothing more to say.
I think I would swap Michael with Quan, mostly because Michael could make you really nice clothes for the rest of your life that would fit you perfectly. And I have just gone through the very traumatic experience of having to go back to school shopping for school clothes and like work trousers. I don't want to deal with that, so he could just make them for me. I think that's the only swap I would give.
Now I'm like, do I need to reread the Kiss Quotient for the however manyth time to answer this question? Because, like, no, Quan is just lovely. No,
Quan
I'm
is
sticking with Quan. I'm sticking with Maggie Quan.
Oh man, I don't know.
But Michael
I
is still kind of around because they're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to get all of them in your life.
They are both millionaires as well, which
Yeah, always And so you've got enough money to pay Michael to make your work trousers.
I feel I feel like I would
you're putting a lot
snog
of
Quan.
thought into this.
It's hard. I feel like I would marry Kai just because I like to be left alone.
That is fair.
And I guess avoid Michael. I don't want to avoid any of them, but I would rather snog Quan than Michael. So
I get it. It's fine. We will leave Kai to you. I mean, I don't dislike him because I actually ended up preferring the bride test to the heart principle, which is crazy to me. So I wouldn't avoid him, but I wouldn't want him romantically for me. I feel like I would destroy that poor man. Like he could not cope with me. So I think I'll leave him be.
I kind of think you might break him a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
I was going to say with this one,
mm-hmm.
we see Michael and I cannot remember the female protagonist of the first book.
Stella.
Stella, thank you. We see them and we see Kai, but we don't see the female protagonist of Kai's book again. Esme, thank you. We don't see her, do we? Or did I miss her?
We only see Kai very briefly, don't we?
There's no mention. I didn't think there was a mention of her, but I might have missed it. Because I came away and I was like, are they still together? Like,
I don't think there was a mention.
Not
that I can remember.
Okay.
Which interesting. I hadn't thought too deeply about it. But that is a very good point. I just realized I missed Marlene's comment here. Might not have given any 5 stars. This series as a whole was quite impactful to read. Many things with Stella and Anna resonated a lot. Yeah, I did actually, because I was reading it and the whole, again, I never know how deep personal to get on the internet sometimes. But there were a lot of discussions about a year ago about whether I should have more conversations. We'll just say that. But the whole scenes where there's like her sister and her mom being like, well, you're not autistic, like just flat deadpan. I have definitely had that exact conversation with many, many people, which have led to a point where I'm like, yeah, never mind. Like, who cares? But it is a very good point of like people in your life can just go, no. And you're like, oh, okay. Maybe not then. Maybe fine. Like, I guess you do know me, but do you know me? Kind of thing. And obviously, because I'm me, I did twist a quote to fit my life because, you know, very self-centered. Which let me find it because I was like, I've written this down and then forgot about it, even though I wanted to mention it, which is basically what Cole says to me all the time. Because obviously we know, well, out of the people here, we all know that my relationship is not the most 100% loved thing in my family's life. But then it's Anna talking to Quan about like, what if my family don't believe me? And he says, ignore what they say and live your life the way you need to. And I'm like, thank you, Cole. That is Cole. Every single conversation where I'm like, but what if this and what if that and what if, and he's like, just ignore everybody. You're most important. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah. This wasn't even related, but I'm like, it just, at least I highlighted it. Like, I need to keep this because even Quan has good advice.
Yeah,
it's decent.
It's kind of interesting to me actually too, because as somebody who's autistic, I didn't relate very much to Stella. So it just shows like how different being autistic can be, because Stella I didn't relate to as much, but I related a lot to Anna in some ways.
Yeah, where I definitely think there were more things that Stella said that at least sparked something in me that I was like, oh, that's familiar. But like with Anna, it was nothing. So I think that's why I had such a different reaction to it. So I was like, no, this is actually a bit just not me. But then Stella,
is that because Stella has her autism diagnosis and knows that she's autistic, whereas Anna is discovering that through this book and goes through that process of trying to express herself in a way that she's hidden her whole life because she's been masking her whole like 30 whatever years, and she's then working out how to actually communicate in the way that she wants.
Yeah, I'm still figuring that out, so probably.
Yeah. No, it's so interesting, like how different all of the characters are. Obviously, it's not always the women in these books because it was Kai in the second one. So just showing how differently, and I know that Helen Huang has like however much personal experience to put into that, but just how different all the characters are. But then the slight similarities that you're like, aha, this sounds familiar. But yeah, I don't know. I really like how well she's done the characters because they felt so real. And obviously everyone has at least in one of these live shows been like, oh, I related to this person or I related to this person. So just knowing that there's one character has at least touched somebody is a good thing. But yeah, I can't remember, Laura, whether you had something else, didn't you?
Just to rank them from
okay.
least favourite.
I think mine goes Kiss Quotient, Bride Test, Heart Principle, like 1, 2, 3.
Mine goes the opposite.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so does mine.
You two are like, they got better. I'm like, no, I needed the escort from book one.
That's fair though.
Laura?
Heart Principle number 1, Kiss Quotient number 2, Bride Test number 3, but Bride Test really doesn't exist. So Heart Principle and Kiss Quotient.
I love how strongly you are sticking to this. Like, it doesn't exist.
I think I know why. And obviously you alluded to it in the last one. I've obviously got relatives who are from Southeast Asia, and my auntie will use that term because I don't know if my uncle's still married to her or not. Spent Christmas telling me how I could be wife number 6 to someone who lives in the Middle East, and I could have a nanny, and I could go shopping, and I could do all this. And Jim, you sat there going, no. Of the mum in the Bride Test who was so like adamant that it was going to be her way or no way, and I'm just like, I feel so sorry for my little cousin because I can see her married off at like 18 now. But that's how I reacted to her life.
Yeah, I guess I have nothing to contribute on.
I didn't love that. Like the beginning of the book, I never, like both times I read it, I'm like, why? But I just really like their romance a lot. But my response in that instance shows very much how I am just contradictory just because I would refuse to marry her just because she was like brought by my mom. Like it wouldn't matter. Like I could be deeply in love with her. No, I can't do it now.
It has to be my own decision. I'm sorry. But then I guess they didn't get married by the end of the book, did they? So
yeah, but they were still together. I would just be like, no, I can't have anything to do with you because I'm supposed to have something to do with you.
I'd like to not obey my mother. 2, 3, 1 according to my ratings, but might be different on reread of Kiss Quotient. Yeah, I'm going to keep all 3 because, I mean, I've annotated, I've tabbed them. They have a lot of my thoughts in. But I probably am not going to reach to reread this one for a while. Probably not the Bride Test either, but I can see the Kiss Quotient being just like a fun, quick, pick-me-up read. I don't know whether if I just read this on its own with no association with the rest of them, I'll feel differently about it maybe.
Well, I'm glad you not made us do this, but suggested that we do this because I'd read the Kiss Quotient ages ago and hadn't picked up the other 2 and wasn't really bothered about picking up the other 2 because I think I gave it 4 stars the first time round. Like I enjoyed it. I think it's one of the first audiobooks I ever read, and that was fun. I'm not a big romance reader. I've read The Brown Sisters and I've read this trilogy. That's and The Roommate by Rosie Dallen. That's pretty much it.
That's a good book.
I did love that book. That's a standalone. We don't talk about the second book.
We don't.
And so I hadn't like really been bothered about picking up the rest, but my rating is definitely 3, 2, 1. I just feel like you can see her writing improving. And you know, like I've already said, I just resonated really strongly with Anna in this one. So yeah, it would definitely be 3, 2, 1. So I'm glad that you suggested that
you're glad that I text you like you're doing this with me. Thank you.
I'm also really glad that you put me in for like the third book as the co-host for the third book because again it made me like buy all the books and then read them.
Which, I mean, I'm glad for forcing you. Like, I'm so happy.
Thank you. I appreciate
Which,
it.
actually, I'm sure Laura mentioned it earlier, unless I've dreamt this, of do we have now any recommendations? Because I know that Victoria, obviously, as you just said, you don't read that much romance. Okay, we have books held up.
Oh no, I hated the fine print.
I loved it.
It was so good.
It's too long. I don't know. I was bored.
It's quite a long one, actually.
I will look up the first one. Because like this month I'm doing the Vampire Diaries readathon.
As are we all.
And one of the prompts is a book with a romance, and I've really struggled. I've had to like stretch that. It's quite a minor part of the story of the book that I've chosen. I literally don't have any left on my shelf that we finish this series. So what was that? The fine print.
Yeah, what book
so
have you gone
many.
for that you've like stretched it to, just out of interest?
I've gone for the Lollipop Shoes, which is the sequel to Chocolat, because I literally couldn't find anything else on my shelves. So
Do you know what? I've had people message me actually and say somebody wanted to read one of the Shadowhunters books, like the Cassandra Clare's, and I'm like, there's a romance in there. Use it. Like, I'm not going to be precious about it.
100% there's going to be a romance in it. I just think there will be because it's a Joanne Harris book and there usually is somewhere, and I need to read it. So I was like, we're going to go with that.
I'm sticking with it. If you've said, I mean, out loud, this is probably going to have a romance in it. If it doesn't, just log it because I'm not going to check.
But if not, it'll fit for historical. So I was like, I'll read it anyway, and then hopefully it's got enough of a romance in it to fit for that. This looks fun. I've just looked it up.
I probably need to go away and like think of ones for you, because I think if I was to recommend a romance to you, I'm like quite deeply thinking about what you're going to like about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like even for these, I'm like, oh, it has like really good representation. It has like, you know, I'm trying to think of stuff that it's a romance, but also this. So I need to think about what I would recommend you, because I think you're a different recommendation group for romance. With Ali, I'm like, hey, there's like 3 men with tentacles. You should read this. So it's a different recommendation going on.
The way that I literally did just read a book where she has 3 fated mates, though. So.
No, it's fine, because if you enjoy that, that's absolutely fine. But well, to be fair, I've never read one. Maybe I should read one and see if I like it.
Ali, I should send her A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor.
Oh, no.
That's not. That is pure filth. That's like not even a book, almost.
It really is. But Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde make an appearance.
I mean, it's a good time. I would not recommend it.
Thankfully, I don't teach Jekyll and Hyde, so.
No, I do actually need to read the real book, but I have read far too many romances where that becomes a thing. And normally they're the same person. In this one, they weren't. Long story. There's some strange romance on my shelves. Cole has asked me to stop explaining what I'm reading.
I have sent you quite a few. Didn't I send you a whole load of weird romance books just for a laugh off your wish list? I was like, this will be funny.
Yeah.
So
you sent me 3 Katie Roberts books.
Yeah. So I was like, that'll be funny, because I've watched. To be fair, I watched a lot of content about that kind of like content about this kind of book. So I just never read one. It's always I find it entertaining watching other people read them and reacting to them.
I do need to read those because I've still got so many Katie Roberts to read. I read one of the 3 that you sent because I know, because I was finally finishing my journal and I got to the page where I'm like, Victoria sent me 3 Katie Roberts. But yeah, there's those. And then I really want to do a whole video on haunting, what's it called? Adeline. It's right behind me. Because I feel like that's going to be, I think there's more of a story than Den of Vipers, but I think there is that level of filth in it at points. So I think that might be a fun concept.
I love your Den of Vipers video.
Like, I will never stop talking about that.
I'm doing
it might
a
be
vlog
one of my favorite videos ever. Like
next month. Okay, so Gothtober, the theme is creature feature. I took that to a different meaning.
Oh no. Oh no.
So I'm doing a vlog one week just reading like really, really unhinged ones.
I'm so happy for you.
I'm honestly not, because what I have found, I'm afraid.
That is Was it you? Or no, you got me the Gargoyles one, Ali.
Yeah, and
But
the
I
dragon
read
one.
Stalked by the Kraken, which is the same series as the Gargoyle one. Oh my god. I was literally reading it like, what is going into my brain? Because I'm never going to be able to get this out.
Because Chloe I can't remember what we were talking about. We were talking about a YA romance that I was reading, maybe the Do's and Donuts of Love, and you were like, I've read too much weird stuff now. I can't go back to like
I can't
regular
go back.
romance. Like
Just a normal YA romance.
Innocent.
No. We can't be doing Fade to Black. We can't, like, there has to be something happening. And actually, one of the books I just got from Waypoint was Not My Type, which looks like a really, really cute romance. It's actually BDSM, but with really good disability rep, apparently.
I love seeing what Hannah sends you guys, because I'm just like, Hannah is just like making you read.
No, give me 1 second.
She's off.
Hannah is just making you guys read like her favorites, because Not My Type, she tells everyone to read.
She does.
Because it was on my wish list anyway, and then she's like, this one's on your wish list, so I'm going to recommend it to you. Oh, Laura's ready. What's she got?
Right. So, not to the level that you probably go, but if you're looking for something in between.
Oh, Glasgow
Kiss.
Kiss.
The Glasgow Kiss, where you're just like, really?
Oh, okay.
So I sat there next to my mum, quite happily reading this in the car and being a bit like, I hope she doesn't know what I'm reading. I'm like, you're in your 30s. But no, the quick reads, and it was sold as BDSM. It's kind of not, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking into this.
Find out some of the interesting moments.
What was the blue one? It wasn't quite in focus on my screen.
What happens in Dubai, and then there's a third one, which is something Milan. It's just come out.
Great. Well, I need to. That's on my screen now to look into in a minute, because I didn't realize that
way.
Well, I didn't realize it, and Hannah was saying about Not My Type. She's like, "Oh, when I first saw this, I thought it was a sailor romance. I hope you know more than me." I was like, "Yeah, that's not what the knots are for." Yes. That was a time that happened.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So
it was a thing.
It was literally the most poorly timed readathon, because I was like, Ali, I would love to co-host this with you, but I have job interviews and I can't put tentacles all over my YouTube. I can't. And luckily, my new boss did find my YouTube like straight as I applied, and we talk about it all the time. And I'm like, thank God there was not a massive like Ice Planet Barbarian going on like that. I would not have got my job.
She might have liked it. You don't know.
She might have. I tell her about things now. I told her about Stalked by the Kraken, and she's like, I think we need to draw a line in this conversation. I'm like, stop. So she's not quite on board with the absolute filth. Not that I even think I am at most times, but I just find it funny. It's entertaining.
It's just something to read. When you've read so many books, you're just like sometimes you just want something that's gonna be just ridiculous. You're like, I want it to go too far because I've read too many things.
Yeah. Give me a woman betrothed to a dragon. That's what I want.
Well, you want to escape reality.
Yeah. Like, I mean, Quan's a real man, so we need a dragon. I'm sorry.
I need to read the Tessa Bailey ones. The three with like the rich girls.
There's the Ballinger girls one, the Ballinger sisters, which is the 2, right?
And then was that only 2?
No, am I making stuff up?
Yeah, so it happened one summer in Hook, Line, and Sinker. It happened one summer is one of my favorite romances ever, which could be a Victoria one, but there's nothing special. It's just romancy, and a lot of people get annoyed at the main character, and I feel like you would for the same reason. Okay. So maybe not. I don't know. But then she has got those. Is it the Tools of Engagement or something like that?
Oh,
like has a lot.
Fix Her Up and all those ones.
Yeah. I don't know what that series is
called.
Go again.
There's the one where she's the clown. That's in that series. I'm sure she's a
No one.
clown.
No idea, Laura. I don't want to read a book where she's a clown.
Not
As long as it's not the
necessarily
cover, I don't want to see clowns. That's a whole different thing. Like,
Yeah, I don't care how filthy we're getting. A clown does not need to be involved. That's just not okay.
I feel
Okay,
like
so-
there's definitely a book somewhere with a clown. Like,
Oh, there has to be. I've just looked it up. So that series, Tools of Engagement, is number 3, which is the only one I can think of, and it's called the Hot and Hammered series.
okay.
No, thank you.
I bet there is somewhere.
There's got to be somewhere. I mean, Gavin read that one about a poo, so there has to be.
Oh, yeah.
I have one on my list that's about a door. So
Yes, I've seen that.
yeah.
I have questions, but I don't know if I want the answers.
Are you going to read it soon? Can you tell us all about it, please?
I'm gonna read it in October. It's part of the list. I was like, you know what? I need to read it. It's gonna ruin my life. I'm not gonna have a good time, but it's fine.
At least it's no one's reading
How many
that.
pages? How many pages? Because it can't be a long story, surely.
No, I think it's more like a novella. Like I don't think it's.
Imagine
No,
it was like
so what
800
serious
pages.
I've taken this. How many pages could it possibly be?
Well, I thought why you were asking was like, I'd like to fit that into my reading list. So how many pages is that?
Well, you never
It's
know.
Vampire Diaries.
Sure, it fits a prompt.
Yeah,
must fit
supernatural romance. Maybe it's
Yeah.
at school. I don't know. Like,
I think my craziest was Dino Smut. I do need to read this. This conversation has got unhinged, but I need to read. Oh my god, what's it called? It's really thin. It's by Lola Faust. That's
Are
what
you
I
talking
remember.
about Wet Hot Allosaurus Summer?
I am indeed.
Even
Basically,
the title.
I got that for my birthday or Christmas. Christmas, I think, yeah, because me and my sister opened my Christmas presents on Christmas Eve, like from Amazon, filmed it. So my sister took it out of the box and she went, "What's this then?" And she sat flipping through it and she's like, "Chloe." What? Like, I actually can't take the blame. This was sent to me. It's actually Emily's fault, but
I've heard that one's good, but don't read any of the other ones because they're just bad. They're
There's
just
more.
bad. Yeah, I read Tyrannosaurus Sext, and it didn't. The thing is, if you're gonna write Dino Smut, just take it all the way because otherwise, what's the point? Like, if I have to read this anyway,
yeah.
I don't even know what a halfway point is for Dino Smut.
If you're gonna do it right. Surely, like.
Right. Back to the humans. God. And Ice Planet Barbarians is somewhere on the crossover line because they're basically human. Which I now have all of the newly released covers,
Nice.
most of them signed. Like, it's a problem. Is it a problem? It's not drugs. It's fine. That's the line. It's not drugs. It's not a problem. But I realized we stopped talking about the Kiss Quotient books.
yeah, like quite a while ago. Yeah.
And I don't want to hold all you guys up for the rest of your evening to talk about pure filth. So we should probably get it wrapped up. Massive thank you to Marlene for holding down the comments.
Yeah.
You're a trooper. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. And thank you to you guys for reading with me for 3 months.
Yeah, I
kind
was
of
so
nice
happy. I'm not normally a rereader. So it was actually nice to like reread something I really loved.
Yeah. I know. I'm glad I finally finished the books because I had this on my TBR for so well, I pre-ordered it and hadn't read it until last month. So probably an issue. Victoria's like cringing on the inside, but that's normal for everyone else.
Yeah.
I am the odd one out, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping quiet.
Yeah, Laura, just don't even mention the books. But thanks for making me read this series. I'm so glad you did, Marlene, because I would not map it to a usual book for you. But the fact that you've joined in like means a lot. And I'm glad that you somewhat enjoyed them all. There weren't any bad ratings coming from that way. So I'm really glad. Yeah, and it's going to be weird now to not have a book we're all doing a project for. Because I did Victoria's and now I've done this. And I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm just I was planning my reading for like this month, and I was like, "There's no
book. And then I'm getting towards the end of the Twilight ones as well, so I don't have those happening in like December. What am I going to read? So I need someone to tell me what to read. I can't just pick a TBR. That's ridiculous.
Finish Bridgerton off.
I can't pick. Oh, sorry, Laura.
Finish Bridgerton off, although the last 4 books you could probably just ignore.
See, that's kind of sad. I do need to finish the Bridgerton books. I keep telling her this, and I still haven't done it. I need to read them before series 3.
Told me to watch it, and now I've just completely finished it, and I've just got to read Queen Charlotte and watch Queen Charlotte, and I am done.
Wow, you've really fixated on that.
I think I fixated on the wrong parts of Bridgerton.
No,
I was quite disappointed in season 2 when it wasn't the same as season 1.
Yeah, we needed the Duke back. The Duke made it, and Cole's stepmom agrees with me because Cole would FaceTime me while she was watching it, and he would leave me in the kitchen also watching it. And she's texting me like, does the Duke not come back in season 2? I'm like, Leslie, I don't know what you want me to tell you, because no. She's like, I don't want to watch it. She said, is he there in Queen Charlotte? Definitely not. He wasn't alive. Yeah, I'm not going to watch it. Like, she's there for the Duke and the Duke only, which I kind of get. He's a very nice actor. Anyway, derail that. That's that. Maybe you should try Bridgerton, Victoria.
Yeah, I watched the. Oh, this will get me kicked out by you two. But I watched the first like 3 episodes of the Netflix series, got bored, and didn't go back. But maybe I try the books. I know. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
If you like Jane Austen, you can do Bridgerton.
Yeah. I'm not very good at watching TV series, though, to be fair, except like Chloe's got me completely obsessed with Love is Blind, which I'm currently watching. I'm really bad for watching like 2 episodes of a series and then wandering off and never coming back. So yeah, maybe I'll wander back to it at some point. I'm not like anti it, but I just haven't quite got back around to it.
Yeah. I do really like the books. I think the books are better than the TV show. If you took out the gorgeous actors, then they're definitely better. I think the only reason I prefer season 1 as a TV series is because of the guy who plays the Duke. Apart from that, the book is better.
I think anyway, my like TV habits are similar to you guys with your TBRs. Like some people have, like I have a fairly small book TBR, but I have a lot of TV series that I'm like partway through that I've just wandered off from. So yeah,
I'm trying to get better at that, and it's made it. My boss admits that she works with the TV on, like watching a series, and I was like, if you're admitting that out loud, can I also do that, please? And she's like, I just assumed everyone did that when they worked from home. So now I have my iPad like next to my computer, and I'm like, I'll just watch this. So I've now finished 2 seasons of Sex Education, even though I had no intention to watch that at all, and I love it. Like, it's so good. It's purely disgusting, but it's so good. It's the sort of thing my mom would walk in on and be like, oh my God, what is on the TV? Because you see everything. But it's fantastic. Anyway, I've derailed it again, even when I'm trying to stop. I'm so sorry, everyone. Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah, I'm the same, Molly.
To be watched list. Yeah,
it's out of control.
To be watched, to be read, to be watched, whatever. Grammar failed me then. Right, I have a Google search open for door romance. I'm going to close that. Right, well, Marlene, thank you for being here. Everybody on the screen, thank you so much for joining in. I've really loved doing this, and it's kind of sad that we're at an end, but we are. So now we get to do the awkward wave while I click end. So thank you, everybody. Bye. I've not clicked. Where's the buttons? Where's the button? There's the button.